So when beginners start urban sketching, they can sometimes find some of the elements quite difficult to capture, like brickwork, stonework, foliage, things like that. So today I'm going to show you 5 little cheats that really help me with my sketching. It's stuff that I've developed along the way. It's not the right way. There's no right way of doing anything with art. It's just my way. And if you can use that, that's great. You can maybe develop your own ways in time. But sometimes when you're getting started, it's good to somebody show you a little shortcut, and that'll get you going and give you a bit of confidence. So I've chosen 5 today to show you, but if you stay to the end, there's a little bonus one that's a real corker, so stay for that. Number 1, brickwork. Now, brickwork is a really interesting texture to try and show. The temptation is to try and draw every single little brick, which you can do, don't get me wrong, it's possible, but it might ultimately be a mistake. If you want to lose a day, that's fine. But more often than not, what you have to do is show a little bit of detail, and that little bit of detail will be filled in by the mind. So as soon as you see 2 or 3 bricks there, or a cluster of bricks, that will tell you the story. Now, if the window has bigger bricks around it and the edge of the building has some big bricks at the side and then smaller infill bricks, you can maybe show the variety of bricks, but certainly don't do every one. One of the other things you can do is with watercolour, you can put the bricks in later. So think about a shorthand, think about a way that you can just hint at something without being too explicit. You don't have to draw every single brick. You can, but as I say, you'll probably go mad. Tip number 2. I think urban sketching, particularly when it's a mixture of organic and built environment, I think can be really nice. So in a lot of my urban sketches, I do like to incorporate a little bit of greenery. So this tip is all about leaves. So again, like brickwork, you don't have to draw every single leaf. But one of the differences between brickwork and leaves is that what you have in a tree is you have more of a 3D element, whereas bricks tend to form a straight wall or a top of a wall maybe. But with a tree, it tends to be a spherical element, so the foliage tends to be what you pick out on the edges. So if you're going to be drawing a tree, you can draw some of the leaves around the edges, some of the leaves that are hanging down, but don't feel you have to populate the whole tree. So again, it's really about a shortcut. It's about a way of actually describing the whole tree without drawing every single element. So tip number 3. Now, roofs are quite interesting to do and can be quite challenging. In the UK here, we have pan-tile roofs, we have slate roofs, lots of different types of roofs, but it's always good to try and show, or at least hint, at the sort of roof that you're dealing with in whatever vernacular those buildings in that place has. Now, I have a sort of shortcut that I use for pan-tile roofs, and I can show you an example of that here. But also, it's a little bit like brickwork, is if there might be the horizontal elements are stronger than the vertical elements of the tiles, depending on what sort of tiles they are. So you can put some lines from the ridge line to the edge of the roof vertically, or you can do some horizontal lines. Or alternatively, you can just do some single tiles, like we've seen with the bricks before. So it's the same sort of idea. You need to sort of come up with a shorthand, develop a little bit of a shorthand for tiles rather than doing every one. So I just want to say, all you YouTubers who get my videos for free, I want to thank you for the likes and the comments and the shares and the subscriptions. That's wonderful. Obviously my Patreon channel is just starting to get going now, and there's going to be a lot more content coming on there, but I'm also archiving some of my more sort of professional YouTube content into formula lessons that are going to be on my Patreon channel. So I'm sort of transitioning stuff backwards and forwards. So yeah, if you're interested in paying a few bucks and getting ad-free access to all my Patreon stuff, there's going to be a link downstairs in the description. But it's early days to this channel, so we're just seeing how it goes. But any support, most welcome. Thank you. So number 4 is the most mercurial in a sense. It's water, that ever-changing, moving element that, even with photography, sometimes you can struggle to capture the majesty of it because it's constantly moving. It's animate, if that's the word. Anyway, again, with water, you cannot possibly capture every variation in tone. It's a moving mirror. It's a very complicated thing, but you can come up with shortcuts. Now, I have done some stuff before on how to draw water, cross-hatching. I'll put a video up there for you to have a deep dive into. But in this case, I'm going to show you a really simple way of doing water, and it is literally just a sort of zigzag shortcut again. And all these are just little shortcuts that I use when I'm doing quick sketches. Hopefully you'll find it useful. So tip 5 is a tricky one, actually. It's paths and roads. Now, these tend to be planar, they tend to be a flat plane disappearing away from you. And it's only the details that are in the foreground that are often easy to see. If the road is a very, very flat asphalt texture, as it gets further away, it becomes just a grey ribbon. But close up, you can start to see the detail. And that's, I think, one of the little secrets into how to draw these surfaces, whether it's paths of paving stones, whether it's, flat tarmac. What you have to do is put the detail in the foreground, but then sort of put some lines in to delineate the fact that it's flat as you get further back. Now those lines can concertina closer and closer together as it gets further away, simply because of perspective. That's what's going to happen. Those paving stones or whatever are going to truncate together. So when you're drawing a road, you can put a little bit of detail on, but you can show that it's flat, and you can show that there is some details in the foreground and maybe hint at the texture. But ultimately, it's the bit of the drawing where it's quite easy to do too much. So hopefully here you can see how I add those details. Your bonus tip for the day. Whoop, whoop. Now this is about trees. Trees, man, you could disappear off into a whole YouTube rabbit hole of trees, particularly when it comes to drawing, painting. It's crazy. But because there's so many different types of trees as well. But I just want to show you a little tip that I use for trunks. Now, different trunks have different textures. But as you can see here, what I'm doing is I'm creating a really, really quick trunk, and I'm just going to put some details on. I'm going to put some lines on that suggest through perspective that it's got some roundness to it. I'm also going to put in maybe a few little bits of texture, a little bit of the imperfections in the bark. But again, it's a shortcut. I'm just sort of hinting at what's going on around the edge, and I'm squinting, having a look at the tree trunk, and with squinted eyes, seeing what pops out. And those bits of high contrast that pop out, they're the ones that I'm going to choose to highlight with a bit of pen. So hopefully you can see here that example of how that works. So please remember, there's lots of my original artwork for sale. I'm going to be doing a big summer sale coming up because I've got to get rid of my artwork. It's just no point in it sitting in drawers. So I'm going to be doing a summer sale. So if you want to get an original piece, a nice present for someone, have a look out for that. So again, I just want to thank anybody who supports this channel, whether it's buying me a coffee or just hitting that like button. It costs you now and it all helps. And I'll see you next time. Cheers, bye bye.